Hi, this is Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch's weekly update here on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us. A very busy week this week on Clinton email developments, frankly corruption related to the Clinton email issue and investigation. We got big news on Trump's conflicts of interest, and of course we've got the scandal of the Russian hacking and how the Obama gang has mishandled that and put out some shady information as it relates to Mr. Trump in an abuse of power that frankly is arguably without parallel, at least on the national security area as it relates to an incoming administration. Some really serious potential abuses of power there that I think need to be investigated. Let's first talk about the first abuse of power as it relates to the Clinton email matter. The independent Inspector General, or the allegedly independent Inspector General of the Justice Department, announced yesterday, a week before he might be asked to leave by the next president, that he's going to be investigating the FBI and the Justice Department about the handling of the Clinton email issue. But it's very narrow because they're going to be asking about FBI Director Comey's letters that he sent out in his press conference. They're also going to be asking about the timing of the release of FBI information under the Freedom of Information Act, whether that was timed inappropriately. They're also going to be investigating whether the FBI, one of the top deputies of Comey, should have recused himself because he was getting money from the Clinton crony Terry McAuliffe, or at least his wife was. And then finally, they'll be investigating whether a Department of Justice senior official was improperly giving information to John Podesta about the Clinton email scandal. And that email that showed that was going on came out as a result of the Podesta email hacks. We had asked about that communication as well, and we just sued about it just a week or two ago, so I think the timing is interesting. But what is the IG not going to be looking into? It's not going to be looking into, at least according to the statement by the Independent Inspector General of the Justice Department, about the meeting between the Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton. So that's not part of an Inspector General investigation. They're not going to be looking into the illicit immunity agreements that they gave everybody in the Clinton email issue. I think they gave an immunity agreement to Hillary. I think it's still an open question there. They're not looking into the fact that the investigations have been crimped by the FBI and the Justice Department into the Clinton email investigation. Why were there interventions designed to prevent the FBI from fully investigating the Clinton email issue and the Clinton Foundation? So I find this all very convenient. And in our experience, Inspector General investigations, whenever you have these investigations, the government always uses it as an excuse not to do something. So in our case, I guarantee it will be an excuse not to produce documents to us under the Freedom of Information Act and pending lawsuits we have. And I guarantee it will be an excuse. And if it's not an excuse, it will be kind of a stifling of any new or pending investigations into the Clinton email matter. So that's big news. And on top of that, we had Jeff Sessions, the incoming Attorney General for Donald Trump. He hasn't been confirmed yet, but it looks like he will be. He said this week during his confirmation hearings that he will recuse himself from Clinton email matters because I guess I don't know what statements he made during the campaign, but pretty much like many other commentators, at least on Trump's side of the aisle, he was talking about wanting to see Hillary Clinton prosecuted or seriously investigated. So he thought it was appropriate, to his credit, that he recuse himself from any decisions he makes as to whether to prosecute Hillary Clinton. But you can bet that any decisions like that or any pending investigations are going to be chilled by this Inspector General investigation. Now, this Inspector General isn't a neutral party who just came up from the bureaucracy and he has no access to the grind. He is an appointee of President Obama. So this is a parting gift by President Obama's appointee, it looks like, to the Clinton camp. The Clinton people are very excited because they thought the FBI acted improperly. And frankly, it's a fair question as to whether Comey said and did more than he should have done in his role as FBI director. But there are ongoing investigations into the Clinton issue because a reporter asked me this week when Sessions said he was recusing himself, well, what's still pending there? And I said, well, hold on a second. You've got still reports that the Clinton Foundation is under investigation. You've got Terry McAuliffe under investigation, and that also involves the Clinton Foundation. Terry McAuliffe is a Virginia governor. You have a referral from the House, I believe, to the Justice Department to investigate whether Hillary Clinton lied in her testimony about her email usage. You have a Judicial Watch decision, you have a case that was decided by the appeals court here in District of Columbia in a Judicial Watch case that is probably going to require the State Department to refer the fact that documents were taken by Hillary Clinton and her aides, refer that issue to the Attorney General. They've refused to do that to date, and that was the issue in the case. So that's going to be before them. And then, of course, you've had the national security issue, and that's a big issue too. It's supposedly settled, and I don't think it is. It needs to be revived with a more vigorous investigation because Comey's conclusions as to whether she should be prosecuted or not don't hold water. And certainly in light of the Russian hacking scandal, the issue is going to come up again. So there's a lot on the plate of the Justice Department in the Trump administration. And I know Mr. Trump has said he doesn't want to prosecute Hillary Clinton, and that's all well and good. And I don't blame him for saying that necessarily. But let's be clear here. He committed to his administration allowing any investigation to go forward in an unimpeded, nonpartisan way. And he needs to take his thumb off the scales of the Justice Department at the Justice Department and get things going. So you've got this IG trying to muck things up. You've got Jeff Sessions now recusing himself on a whole host of issues related to Clinton emails. And so this issue is still live, which raises the next issue, which is this Russian hacking craziness that's been going on, where you're having the intelligence community now trafficking. You've heard about this Russian dossier, and I don't need to repeat to you, if you're following us here on Facebook Live, you've probably been following the news with Donald Trump's tweets and the back and forth with CNN and BuzzFeed on that dossier that was published. The Russians supposedly were hacking the DNC, tried to hack the RNC, and I read the report that the intelligence community put out for the public, and frankly it was sorely lacking. Didn't really tell you much. There's no doubt, in my view, the Russians were interested in hacking and seeing if getting information out about what they found in a way that would impact the election. But what impact were they seeking? Were they even trying to impact the election? I don't think that's clear. I think they were trying to impact the next presidency, which they assumed to be Hillary Clinton. And the emails wouldn't have had an impact if they weren't true. So I would argue that the substance of the emails were more impactful than the fact that they were hacked. But I don't appreciate the Russians stealing stuff and getting away with it. But let's be clear here, the conclusions as to what their intent was, I don't see much evidence to suggest that they wanted one outcome versus the other. And I think there's plenty of sensible approaches that would make you believe that their impact, anything they were doing was designed to impact the next administration as opposed to messing with the result of the current election. And again, all of this is designed to protect Hillary. How is it you could talk about investigating Russian hacking without investigating the likely targets of any hacking efforts, which would obviously have included Hillary Clinton? And that's one of the reasons why this Russian hacking is being pushed by the administration, so to distract the people from the fact that the national security breaches of Hillary Clinton put our classified information at risk, and they don't want to do anything against her. And I'm not saying nothing should be done against the Russians. Frankly, probably a lot more should be. But let's not pretend that the individuals involved in this issue are just limited to the Russians. I got my phone ringing here. So the other issue is, if you could grab the phone. The other issue is that's come up this week is the Trump ethics issue. Now, Judicial Watch is independent and nonpartisan. We're trying to get information out there on the ethics of any politician where there are questions to be asked and answered. And so we've been very careful in telling people about Trump's conflicts of interest issues, that things need to be done, but not the way the left wants them to be done, in the sense that people are demanding, in order to erase any conflicts of interest with his business, that he sell his business completely and destroy his business. And we don't think that's the case. And so he came up with a plan today that largely mimics what Judicial Watch presented in the New York Times a few weeks ago. If you haven't looked at the piece, it's available in the op-ed section of the New York Times. We can link it again on Facebook. It's certainly available via links at our website. And we said that he should pull himself out of the business. They should not have any foreign entanglements. He should try to pull himself out of those if he can. And the business should commit to no more foreign entanglements or foreign deals, because you have this emoluments clause that might be raised constitutionally that prevents any public official like the president from getting any compensation or salary or emolument from a foreign power. I think those are all easily addressed without having to destroy his business. And he committed to appointing an ethics czar within the administration, within his company, the Trump Organization, which would now be run by his sons. And obviously he committed to not speaking to his family about his corporate interests, which he would retain. Now, is that the perfect solution? Probably not. But you got two issues here. Are we going to have him destroy his business completely, which I think is inappropriate, or are we going to let him run his business out of the Oval Office, which I also think is appropriate? There's got to be a middle road solution, and so that's why we said his ethics plan, despite all the noises you're hearing from critics of Trump and the other groups in the ethics community, most of whom don't share our outlook, is a good first step. And I believe that there's more corruption associated with this, not from Mr. Trump, but from another Obama appointee at the Office of Government Ethics, which is the ethics office in the federal government that polices conflicts of interest. You may not have heard of it, which is even more outrageous because you think you would have, given what Hillary Clinton was doing at the State Department. Now, to be clear, the president isn't covered by these conflict of interest statutes by law. He says the law doesn't cover it. I can do whatever I want, which is technically true. So why, I may ask, is the Office of Government Ethics head out there attacking Trump for this plan? The law doesn't provide him any jurisdiction over Trump. Other presidents have had conflict of interest plans they've worked with the OGE on, but that's been involuntary since the law doesn't require it. But here we have an Obama appointee out there attacking the incoming president in, frankly, a way that I think is fairly seen as partisan. And now Jason Chaffetz up on the Hill, the head of the House Committee on Government Oversight, wants to bring him in. And of course, the left is upset about that. But I think it's appropriate. So there's a lot going on here. You've got really Obama doing a lot of destructive things on his way out of office. You've got foreign intelligence foreign intelligence collection being used in a way to undermine the incoming president. Really a dastardly move. One thing that popped up this past week that I don't think many people have caught up on is that the Obama gang sought a FISA warrant against the Trump people. Now, what is FISA? FISA is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which allows which under that law, the executive branch goes to the court and says, hey, we want to monitor this foreign agent, and we want to do it. It's not a traditional subpoena. They just do it because it's a foreign power, and they just get the court to sign off on it. Well, they were directing it at Trump. So they were using this intelligence power they have, which is an awesome power in the sense that it really is pretty strong and broad. And frankly, the FISA court cut back their request, but it still approved some of it, as best I can tell. So, the Obama gang was trying to use this Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant to go after Trump, and supposedly over a criminal matter. Well, why you don't need, why don't you just get a traditional search warrant? Because they would have had to really jump through too many hurdles to do that. That's the conclusion. Just really terrible corruption going on right now. And I know Trump is angry, but I think it's up to folks like Judicial Watch and those of you who are activists and supporters to really understand why he should be angry, because I think he should even be more angry than he is. And this intelligence community is corrupted, and the political leadership at least. And let's not be fooled into thinking just because you have this intel report come out that it's the word of God, because it isn't. It's a political document, and this is the same intel community that refuses to investigate Hillary Clinton. We just asked this week, for instance, that they do a damage assessment of Hillary Clinton's the fact that her emails were out there and essentially in the public domain. They refused to do that despite the law requiring it be done. So this is a real serious issue. And before I go, I know we're going on a long time, but we've got a series of articles on our site about the threat of corruption and terrorism and the drug cartels from Mexico. We have new information that the terrorists and the cartels in Mexico want to time some attacks around the inaugural of Donald Trump. So they want to have disruption at the border, violent disruption at the border and in Mexico because of Trump's inauguration. So something for you to go over to our website and read about. Also, there is some, again, news you can only read at Judicial Watch, practically speaking, about how we found that the Fort Lauderdale shooter wasn't just some crazy guy who went into the FBI and said he had voices telling him to fight for ISIS, as the FBI would like you to believe, but that he had a long-standing flirtation and interest in Islamism and had taken on an Islamist name many years before. We're told he communicated with the FBI. So, in other words, he may be just another Islamist terrorist, and our national security establishment and the media doesn't want you to know about that. So, and plus there are other great stories on our internet site as well, and I can't get into everything, obviously, in one video, but a lot to be outraged about this week. But I want you to try to get the facts straight, and I try to present them as best I can. I don't have notes here, so forgive me if I don't get exactly everything right, but there's a lot to cover, and we're keeping up the fight. Just so you know, we filed something this week with the courts on the Benghazi FOIA lawsuit we have, where we've been granted discovery into the Clinton email issue. Well, we've requested and renewed our request for Mrs. Clinton's deposition, the deposition of Cheryl Mills, and documents about how these documents were handled, the FOIA documents were handled. And obviously the Obama administration doesn't want any discovery. So we're not giving up. And we're pursuing the Clinton email issue. We're pursuing the Russian hackings. We're in the lead on this Trump ethics issue. We're the ones standing true for the rule of law here, an honest and ethical government. And obviously we're terribly concerned about our nation's security on the border, and a major issue there as well. So we're trying to track it all for you. We're standing on the watchtower, and we appreciate all your support there that allow us to do it. I get to come on and talk about all the great work my colleagues do. We've got lawyers, investigators, fundraisers, so you should be supporting us. We've got our media and digital and administrative people all working hard here at Judicial Watch. So it's a team effort, and those of you supporting us, both financially, morally, and prayerfully, you're part of that team as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you hopefully next week during the inaugural activities surrounding the incoming president, Mr. Donald Trump. Thanks again.